All right. Hello, everybody. This is Gus Galway with the Alumni Relations Department at AUC, and I'm proud to be introducing one of our graduates, Dr. Katrina Nguyen. Dr. Nguyen graduated from AUC in 2002, and she's done a remarkable job as an AUC graduate, as a physician, as a human who has gone on to do remarkable things with her in her career and as in her personal life. And I think before we get started, and I want to give Dr. Nguyen to introduce herself, a moment to introduce herself. Before we get started with that, Dr. Nguyen has a book out called Live to Give, and I can't recommend this enough. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I wanted to put this ahead of it because we were talking offline a little bit about her book, and I wanted to share some of those stories with you, and also pick Dr. Nguyen's brain a little bit about for those of you who are currently in medical school at AUC, and those of you who are about to graduate or who have already graduated. I'm sure there are plenty of great advice here that we can get from Dr. Nguyen. So, Dr. Nguyen, do you mind taking a moment to introduce yourself? Perhaps give a little bit of some background about your medical career, where you're from, and what led you to this point in your life. And that's a very open question.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me on this podcast interview. As Gus said, I graduated AUC School of Medicine in June of 2002, and I did a internal medicine and pediatric combined residency at the University of Missouri Columbia from July 2002 to June of 2006. And then I went on to do a pediatric gastroenterology fellowship at SUNY Downstate Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York, from July of 2006 to June of 2009. After that, I followed the path of a physician scientist and worked for almost 4 years at Augusta University, used to be Medical College of Georgia in Augusta, Georgia. And that was from August of 2009 till May of 2013. And then July of 2013 until July 2020, I was a full-time physician for PGI at Mercy Health in Rockford, Illinois. Since December of 2020 until now, I actually work 3 different jobs. I do telemedicine with my Catholic doctor. I work as a locum tenens physician. I travel about 10 days a month as a PGI to help out hospitals through agencies that connect with hospitals that need me as a specialist. And then when I'm in Rockford and not traveling, I supervise technicians at a radiology center and treat any allergic or adverse reactions to IV contrast. So that's who I am in terms of my medical career.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. And let's start from the beginning. So you graduated from AUC in 2002, and you do talk a little bit about your experience as a medical student. And I think many students, current students, would probably benefit from some of the from your advice as far as how to adapt to all the different challenges, and I'm sure there are many that can be experienced in medical school, and also as part of as an AUC graduate. So attending AUC in particular. What kind of advice do you have for students currently?
It's really an individual effort. And that's what's most important. If your focus is that why did I want to go to medical school? I look at it as AUC giving you an opportunity. And as much as you embrace it, it's going to be how successful you'll be in the future.
Absolutely. And I think you also, in your book, you mentioned how important mentorship is. And you did talk a little bit about some of the mentors in your life, including Dr. Lucille Mello, Miss Lucille Mello, and some of the other physicians as well, who shaped your career. How important is mentorship, and what would you say to students currently listening to this about how to pick a mentor?
Mentorship is very important, and that's why I highlight it in my book. I had mentors before I went to medical school, and even before I went to college. And you'll be amazed at the people that impact your life even before you know it. Before you knew it, in the future, you think back and you say, well, that person gave you a chance. And it may have nothing to do with the medical field. It's just about caring, giving time, teaching you a skill, life skills, how to talk to people, how to do like Microsoft Word, right, or an Excel sheet, how to use a computer, typewriter, right, how to talk to someone on the phone. Those are all things that are important skills that, as a physician, learning to communicate, learning to be compassionate, and building character, and learning how to listen. So I highlight, Miss Lucille Mello was my first mentor when I was a teenager, summer job. And then many other doctors, along the way, like Dr. Aquila, Dr. Tree, Dr. Alejandro Ramirez. So these are people that, as someone, I'm one of 10 kids and the only physician in the family. I didn't have anybody in my family that I could look up to say, how do I navigate a career in medicine? So I had to look outside. And mentorship is so important. A lot of times during your process of training, you may find, positive role models, and also role models of people that you might not want to follow, right? That's also good too. It's not, I look at every experience, good or bad, as always learning experiences. So because of the good mentorship that I received, I used those mentors as role models of how I want to be as a mentor. And I went on to, teach and mentor students, residents, fellows, so that they could publish papers, or I recognize how important for them to present at a national meeting, for instance, or how they can impact the community by working with my nonprofit. Many of the people that interact with me as me being a mentor and them being a mentee, I go on to write letters of recommendations for them because of the effort they put in, above and beyond just their role as a student. And just taking exams and doing rotations and getting an evaluation. It's like getting more than that. So I highly encourage seeking out mentorship very early on. And sometimes it's not even a mentor that's related to your field in the future. It's just someone that you trust, that you can talk to when you're struggling on decisions, personal or professional. And I really, really highlight the importance of keeping in touch with those people, because you just never know when you need to reach back.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. And I know that from what you have spoken in your book, family can be mentors, friends can be mentors. And I think that's important to touch upon, because many times I know that students feel like, oh, I need to specifically follow someone who is in their specialty, or someone who has published these number of books. Or so I think it's great that starting from zero and understanding what are you looking to do with your life, and then going from there. And again, you're a great example of that, and your book really talks a lot about that. There is now that we're talking about your book, and you did mention your nonprofit, I wanted to talk about that as well, because I know how important it is to many alumni and to students to have time to dedicate to help the community, not just to do the 8 to 5 type job. And offline, we were talking about that. So you started this organization called Faithful to Fitness. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you do there?
So I started Faithful to Fitness in November 6, 2014. We became officially a nonprofit. And I have been putting together 3 12-week programs per year since April of 2015 in Rockford, Illinois. Except for 2020, when we couldn't really, do programs. I've also organized 5K events every August, and we're going to have a 6th one August 21st of this year. The goal of the nonprofit is to address barriers to families and children who really want to make healthy lifestyle changes, but they need to get help above and beyond just the physician's office. So it's community-based. It's not a clinic. We don't bring children in and weigh them every week. We actually partner with the many partners in the community, like gyms and grocery stores, chefs, dietitians that volunteer, nurses, medical students, just as some examples. Other things like farms, and then some like food companies that have cooking classes, both in person and virtual. And we allow these families to be part of those things for free. And through donations or private donations to Faithful to Fitness was able to cover the cost of those like types of events and classes. So for instance, every Saturday, myself and many people in healthcare, medical students, nurses, dietitians, and a fitness instructor, we meet at a gym in Rockford, Loves Park area. But they partner with me since November of 2014. And every Saturday for 1 hour, they donate a space and a fitness instructor. And we all get together with families, parents, grandparents, and the children, and we work out group fitness for an hour, totally free. We take kids with a dietitian to a grocery store. We teach them how to shop on a budget that's healthy. Because a lot of people would say, I can't eat healthy, it's too expensive, right? We take kids to the farm. So they learn how to, where vegetables are grown, how to grow them, how to harvest, how to make a salad, how to make vinaigrette, sit down and how to eat together at a table. We do cooking classes. So we teach people how to meal prep so that it doesn't seem overwhelming that I don't have time to cook, right? And get kids involved in the process. So those are just different examples. And then every August, I involve the mayor of Loves Park, and we've had between 150 to 250 people each year participate in a 5K. And what I'm most proud of in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, I was able to host an in-person 5K and also invited 10 people from 10 different states to participate virtually. We had 150 people. So, you know, because why was it important to me? Because I looked at it as, why did I start the nonprofit? I wanted to make an impact on obesity. And obesity is one reason for bad outcomes from COVID, right? And obesity related health problems. So why not? In a pandemic, I needed to address that.
Yeah, this is definitely a topic that strikes a chord with me as a parent, and my son is 16 months old. So a lot of the things you say exactly about it, it's expensive to buy food that is organic and nutrition, and thinking about all these moving parts. And your work is tremendous in that regard, and especially helping those in communities where perhaps they don't have access to that information handy. Is there any way students, say medical students, can get involved, or even alumni as well? Is there a way that they can get involved? And I know we can include the link as well
Yes.
with this podcast, but go ahead. How can they get involved?
So we have, if you go to www.faithful and then the number 2 fitness.org, there is a website there where you can donate or volunteer. We are always looking for volunteers. So if you live locally in the Rockford Loves Park, Illinois area, I invite you to look at the opportunities to volunteer as a fitness instructor, as a someone who's like a cook, a dietitian. If you just want to come work out as a medical student with us, if you're rotating through Illinois or being a resident here and training, I mean, you know what? It's all of us need to work out, right? And have exercise, increase our endorphins and feel good type, hormones and stuff. So that's one way. The other thing that, because I work with a couple of law firms that have helped me get trademarked. Faithful to Fitness is trademarked, and since April of 2016. So they also have written up a licensing agreement. So my goal in the next few years is to help other cities also have Faithful to Fitness there. So we have Faithful to Fitness Rockford. We'd like Faithful to Fitness to expand to other cities. And a licensing agreement, there's no cost, but it's not like a franchise. All we ask is that you follow the model that we've set up. And use the same web page and connect people to us. Really, that's one goal. My other goal is to hopefully have a 5K in every city in August. right? That's Fight Obesity, Walk With Me. That's the name of our 5K event. Because if we can promote wellness and encourage healthy lifestyles and activity, physical activity for children and adults, that's the impact that we're going to have for the future of medicine and the wellness for children and families. So those are different ways that you can be involved. There's also a Facebook page. So facebook.com/faithful to fitness. You can go there, like the page, share the message, the mission that we have, so that people are encouraged when I post, workout or cooking classes or, dietitian, nutrition lessons, tips. So different ways that you can learn for free, right? So.
Excellent. Yes, I hope to see a Miami chapter of Faithful to Fitness at some point.
I would be happy.
I'll be there to work out, and I'll bring my son too. That's great. Thank you. Yes, and I'll include the links as well with the video when we post, so that you guys can follow all the links and social media links as well that Dr. Nguyen has mentioned now. And again, I mean, this is incredible. I know that we do, especially as we talked a little bit about this as well, the family type of the family vibe that AUC students and graduates seem to have, and I see some of the projects from other alumni and projects even started by students, how they spread like wildfire sometimes because you feel the need to support one another. And I think this is fertile ground for that, and I can commend you for the work you're doing. And I'm sure we'll find some students. I definitely will. I'm super eager to get involved as well. So
Thank you.
yeah, so thank you about that. I wanted to, I guess we have time for one more question, just to kind of cover a little bit more ground, and as we talk about your book a little bit more in depth. You do mention there is a big component about your faith and how your upbringing, your personal upbringing, played a part in who you are. And I know that this is something that a lot of students, we have different chapters on campus for religious groups and ethnic groups, and there is a very strong sense of, yes, I'm going to medical school, but this is an area that keeps me grounded, if you will. So can you talk a little bit about that as a physician, and how you are able to espouse, these your faith and your principles, and as well as with your medical career?
So, as I mentioned, I'm one of 10 children, and I have two brothers who are Catholic priests. So from a very young age, practicing my faith was very important to me. I only remember probably one time in my life in the middle of one of the 3 hurricanes on the island where I missed church, right? And I called my mom. I said, "Mom, I'm missing church." She goes, "Don't worry, just say the rosary. You'll be fine." God will understand. So, I think because of the upbringing and how important my parents emphasize faith in all that we do, that my family, all my siblings just prayed and asked for help in our decisions. I think another component of faith is that we look at patient care in terms of our, yes, we have our abilities and our training, but there's a spiritual, mind-body connection in terms of healing, and not to be afraid to ask patients, if they want us to pray for them, for their mental health, for their healing, their spiritual health. There's a big connection, that I've learned over many years between the mind and the body, and especially in GI, how important that is. Stress, anxiety, chaos in our life will affect how we take care of ourselves and our well-being. The other thing that drives me in terms of how I grew up in my faith is the emphasis on time, talent, and treasure. And if you look at the front of my book, right, the picture is representative of that. How do we live to give? We live to give by figuring out ways how we can use our time, our talent, and our treasure. And if we keep that in mind, we stay focused as physicians. When we're done with our training, we don't think just about ourselves. We think of how we can use all our training and our success and our accomplishments and all that we've earned and our rewards, our treasures, how we can give back. So those are kind of like summary points as far as how my faith has impacted my practice of medicine.
Great, amazing. I was actually about to ask you about the photo and the front page on the cover of your book, because yes, I obviously immediately that's the first thing that comes to mind, given time, given treasure, and you do give, you have through your work, and now that I get to talk to you, I think that's a theme in everything you're saying, and so the image is worth 1,000 words. Let's just say that. But thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for taking the time to talk to us, to have your story, to share your story, really, with AUC, with the AUC community. Is there anything in particular you would like to say to students? A short little sentence, or something you would like to say to them as they prepare. Especially, we have a graduation now in a couple of weeks. Any words of support for them, or advice, or anything in particular you want to share with them?
Absolutely. First, I want to say congratulations to the graduating class, and also congratulations to those who are matriculating. The first semester. It's a big decision, but it will be a decision you won't regret. I want to advise all of them to, as I said earlier, to really not focus on the anxieties or the concerns about being a foreign medical grad, and just remember that you focus on your goal, your passion, your reason for going to medical school. In the end, start to think about others and how you can use your time, talent, and treasures to help others. If that's your goal all the time throughout your career, you'll always be successful.
Excellent. I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, and thank you for doing this. I will include, for those of you listening or watching, I'll include the link as well for the book if you want to look it up. It's on Amazon. It's called Live to Give, an inspirational memoir about freedom, faith, and selflessness, by Dr. Katrina Nguyen. Thank you so much. You make us proud, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you very much. It's an honor, and I owe my whole career, my success, to the opportunity that AUC has given to me.